Every time the Australian government touches the property market, the same question floods my inbox. Is this finally the crash that we've all been waiting for? And look, in one hand I get it. The budget just ripped out negative gearing on established properties, as well as imposing a ridiculous CGT measure. The RBA has hiked interest rates 3 times in the last 3 months. Consumer confidence is at its lowest sustained level in over 50 years. On paper it looks bad, but here's what I actually think is going to happen. No, property investment is not dead. And yes, while these changes are damaging, and as incompetent as our government is, this will not bring prices down. In fact, it's going to do the opposite. If anything, they're going to make things worse for the exact people the government is trying to claim they're going to be helping. I'm Corey Jones. I've helped hundreds of everyday Australians generate over $100 million of equity in the last 5 years alone, and I'm going to break down today exactly what these budget changes mean for the market, who's going to get hurt, and why I'm personally getting more aggressive with my portfolio and investing more right now and not less. Now, after listening to the nonsense that this Labor government's been spouting out about these tax changes with the budget, most people are stuck in a daze of confusion. Is the market actually going to correct and come down to help out first home buyers and entry-level buyers? Or is this more fuel on the fire that's going to cause rents and property values to continue skyrocketing? In today's episode, I'm going to break down exactly what I believe as a professional property investor and provide my 2 cents why I believe this government is completely negligent and too incompetent to be running our country. Even with these law changes, I personally believe property investment is still by far the best vehicle in the country to build wealth, especially for the average person, despite the fact that these changes will hurt the poor and the working class the most and not the wealthy investors, and that's what the government's claiming. The first thing I'd like to start with is market sentiment. We have a sentiment-based economy. Now, what that means is when people are confident, they invest their money, they put it into the market, and the market grows because there's more money flowing around it. Now, our economy drives forward based on how people feel, in other words, human emotions. Notice how the government changed the rules, and all of a sudden now most people are in a state of doom and gloom. And you can also thank the media for that. So before the market changes, just understand that sentiment is now lower than it has ever been, and this is going to cause less and less people to want to invest in property whether you like it or not. Now, secondly, when you understand that negative gearing has been restricted to new homes, there's some problems with that. On face value, it makes sense. In reality, it is nonsense. Now, here's the reality. Most people do not want to build houses for investment. They want to buy established. Now, what that means, there are people out there in the market who are on the fence considering if they do this or not, who only would ever consider an established property, and today their hand has been forced. Instead, they know they don't want to build. They're going to be considering other asset classes, for example, businesses and shares in crypto and bonds and other forms of asset classes other than now getting into property. In other words, the government is trying to force an outcome with new builds and get people to do something they wouldn't otherwise normally do. And thanks to the consistent fear and negativity in the mainstream media about the building industry, most people are too fearful of constructing a home and they will not do it at all. Thirdly, we don't have enough land in this country that's available and ready to be developed. We've got more land in this country we not do with, but it's not ready to be built. Even though the government's pledging millions to have land infrastructure completed and ready, this will take years before it hits the market. So with all this extra demand that's now going to be in the building industry for people wanting to build an investment property, we simply don't have the land on the other side to support the volume that we need. Now, from a building perspective, what do you think is going to happen to build prices now that more people are going to be demanding building, particularly investors? Look at what we saw during COVID. The home builder grants of $20,000 to $45,000 to go and build a home caused a huge amount of demand for the construction industry and completely cooked the market. Building prices pre-COVID was an average of $250,000 for a 4x2 home. Today, it is $400,000. It has almost doubled in price in the last 5 years alone. Now keep in mind, guys, the biggest barrier people have to get into the market right now is asset values being so high and the money required as a deposit that they need to have saved. So tell me, government, if you're going to put these measures in place, the market's going to be increasing in cost and in rent. How the fuck is this going to help entry-level people get into the market? Think of it this way. We have X amount of trades in the country. A builder is limited by their indemnity insurance and the availability of trades and materials. Now, if you've got an increased demand all of a sudden of 200% to the construction industry because the government's trying to force an outcome, building prices will increase based on the fact they've got way more work and not enough supply to meet the need. This is the simple mechanics of supply and demand. The fact that this is basic year 10 economics, and we have one of the most sophisticated, well-educated, knowledgeable governments on the planet, the fact that they still don't get this is absolutely insane. Today's episode, fundamentally, is for those who've lost hope. I'm telling you right now, do not let the government defeat you. We still have population growth that's almost 500,000 people a year, and yet we're not even building 200,000 homes in the country. That's 2.5 people per household. Fundamentally, we are not building enough homes to sustain the growing population, which is majorly made up of immigration. So as long as this left-wing socialist government continues to import more people at a faster rate than we can construct houses, this property market will continue to grow out of reach than wages. And right now, many people are sitting there thinking, how the hell can this keep going? Surely housing affordability has got to tap the market out somewhere. It won't. The market will adapt. Trust me. Let me give you an example. Most of the rest of the world have mortgages longer than 30 years. Why? Because it's the only way that the population in those countries with tiny wages can get access to the real estate at such high prices. This is the housing affordability disparity between wages and median asset values. Many countries have intergenerational home loans, where there are multiple families or multiple generations sharing a house due to the cost of housing. Look at Indonesia, look at Thailand, look at most of Southeast Asia. You can have 99-year leases, which allows the local residents to be able to afford the living cost. Look at places like Europe and Italy. You've got grandparents, kids, and the grandkids all sharing the same house. Whether we like it or not, that is the future for Australia. In fact, we are on a fast track to that right now thanks to this latest policy. In the last 6 months alone, I've been placing offers on properties and competing with multiple Indian and Vietnamese families who are combining their borrowing power to get into that property because that's exactly what they're used to back in their country in India and Vietnam. This is the competition, not the baby boomers. Now, just so you understand where I'm coming from, right now I'm having my borrowing capacity reviewed personally, and I'm going to be buying as many houses as I can right now because I can see this market exploding over the next 12 months. Unlike what the Labor government's trying to tell you, I will not be buying assets in my personal name. I'll be using companies and trusts because my portfolio is large enough where I do not need to rely on negative gearing. To be clear, the wealthy do not negatively gear properties. Negative gearing is a strategy used by the working class to become wealthy. Understand that the government has just changed the goalpost, which all this is doing is disincentivizing property investment. And this is going to make it harder for people to enter the market. Now, as most of our listeners can understand, I love capitalism. Not the current crony capitalism oligarch that our current Western world is now run by. That is absolute corruption. What I'm talking about is true capitalism, where you have the ability to own assets. I believe this is the absolute best structure for a society to thrive because capitalism means that anyone can become wealthy if they want to. Now, it's becoming apparent to me that this socialist government is trying to stop that, like any socialist or communist government would. And that is something that I will not accept, and I will fight to my last breath to ensure that people know that this system that I stand for is one where anyone can become wealthy if they want to work hard enough. This government is trying to make it so no one can become wealthy except for them, and I will not have that. Please put some questions in the comments below and share this with a friend, and I will address them in coming episodes. Thanks for listening.